Well, I'd like to call the regular meeting of the Industrial Development Authority to order. It is now 1:31 Roll call, please.
Director Stewart,
Present.
Director Paul,
Yes.
Director Young,
Here.
Chair Reed.
Here. Seeing that we have a quorum, let's move on to the first item on the agenda. Or the approval of the minutes. Meeting of February. December 14th. Any additions or corrections? Hearing none, would there be a motion?
Mr. President, I move that those minutes be approved, December 14th to 2023. Director Young.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second. Roll call, please.
Director Young,
Aye.
Director Paul,
Aye.
Director Stewart,
Aye.
Chair Reed.
Motion passed. Item number 1. Michelle Stuckey is resolution 24 IDA 1. Started the new year. Michelle.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. This project is for the Allen Market Lane Apartments. This is the preliminary approval and the inducement resolution for multifamily housing revenue bonds. The bond amount is up to 16.5 million, and it's going to be used for the acquisition and rehabilitation of a 100-unit senior housing development known as Allen Market Lane, located at 1201 Allen Market Lane. Total project cost is $24,935,735. There is additional public assistance through low-income housing tax credits. The application was submitted to MHDC on January 5th, and the developer expects to hear back sometime in April regarding these credits. There's also going to be federal historic tax credits. And the applicant has stated that they may apply for a tax abatement through the city, depending on the needs of the development, but only after the formal approval by MHDC and the LIHTC application. And the developer is SDG Housing Partners, LLC. The borrower will be Allen Market Lane Housing 1, LLC, and the property manager is Dalmark Management Group, and we have Waylon Watson as bond counsel. There is no underwriter because these bonds are expected to be directly purchased by Citibank or another bank that's going to be identified by the applicant. The Allen Market Lane Apartments project contemplates a substantial rehabilitation of the property in the Soulard neighborhood. It was constructed in 1904 as the Brown Shoe Company's Homes Take Factory. It was designed by Albert Groves and was listed on the National Register of Historic Places in October of 1980. It consists of 93 one-bedroom and 7 two-bedroom apartments. The resident population is seniors, and the property is designated for seniors 62 and older. And per the market study for the project, the senior population in the Soulard neighborhood is expected to increase over the next 5 years. Also, per the recent tenant income list provided by the seller, the vast majority of the households fall into the extremely low income category. The developer plans to safeguard and preserve the significance of this community landmark. They also plan for the addition and improvements of community amenities that tenants will gain access to, such as free Wi-Fi, community gardens, a community fire pit and barbecue areas, renovated laundry facilities, a gym, a lounge, a TV lounge, and modernized elevators. They plan to spend an average of $73,253 per unit. They do have a plan for the temporary relocation of residents during the construction process. Because this is a low-income housing tax credit renovation of a HUD property, the renovations will be overseen by a HUD administrator, And when it comes to HUD, there are very stringent requirements for what must be done during this relocation process. And in Missouri, these requirements are overseen by MHDC. SDG Housing Partners is based in Manhattan Beach, California. As a developer, they have completed many similar projects with a focus on low-income housing tax credit redevelopments of properties covered by HUD-based Section 8 contracts. SDG includes Rick Seibert as the managing director and Lori Boer as partner. Dalmark Management Group is the property management group for 4 properties that SDG Housing Partners is the sponsor on, and will continue being the property manager for upcoming projects in the greater Missouri area. Three projects located in Missouri are the Cathedral Square Towers, Columbus Park Plaza, and Marlboro Manor. These total 243 units and all units are currently occupied. The general contractor is Altman Charter Company, which is a Midwest construction management firm based in St. Louis. It has a presence in over 100 markets and has been actively involved in multifamily and senior housing projects ranging from new construction, renovation, historic renovation, and mixed-use developments. Roseman and Associates is the selected architect, and Roseman has active projects in more than 29 states, and this will be the 7th project between the developer and the architect. And the requested action is approval of the attached resolution, and we do have representatives of the developer who have joined us with a presentation, as well as Waylon Watson is available for any questions. And I am more than happy to turn it over to you, Justin, for the presentation.
Would you mind turning it over to Lon Boer from SDG?
Sure.
Thank you.
Lon, you are on mute. Does he have the ability to share?
Yes.
Okay.
We're gonna find out. That work?
Good.
All right. My name is Lon Boer. I'm with SDG Housing Partners. I actually office in Kansas City, Missouri. A little background, Rick Seibert and myself are both St. Louis natives. We are very excited to be working in our hometown, and we look very forward to these projects. And actually, Michelle probably did a better overview than I will even come close to, but I'm going to give it a shot.
And
As
just
she
to
mentioned-
interrupt, Lon, I apologize, but just to maybe state this project, so resolution 1 and resolution 2 will both be by the same developer. So is this presentation, are you just going to do both of them in this one presentation?
You know, our proposed, because these are both historic properties, our proposed scope of work is very similar. So the way we have this set up is to present them both at the same time.
Okay.
If that's
all right,
okay.
And I think that's good. Yes, I think that's fine.
We'll have to vote on it, so.
Correct. They will vote on them
Understood.
separately, but they can present them at this time, I would say, as both.
Go ahead, Mr. Barr.
Okay. As mentioned, Rick and myself have completed over 30 acquisitions and rehabs of affordable housing projects. We've done work in California, Texas, Tennessee, Missouri, and Kansas. All we do is affordable housing, and we specialize in the acquisition and rehabilitation of existing affordable housing. We believe that the existing housing stock deserves to be maintained and to continue. Our team, or our mission, is to renovate these properties to the highest standards possible. We believe in a quality living environment for both the tenants and for the community at large in the neighborhoods they're located in. Some recent project experience, as mentioned, Columbus Square Towers in Kansas City, Missouri. It's a 156 unit Section 8 Senior Apartment Complex, Columbus Park in Kansas City, Missouri, 56 unit. Section 8 Senior Apartments, Park Western Estates in San Pedro, 216 units, Section 8 Family Apartments. And Granger Apartments in National City, California, which is 180 units, Section 8 Senior Apartments. This is a little repetitive, but Allen Market Lane, 100 unit senior building, 100% Section 8. It is 4 stories, has elevator access, and it is on the historic register. We're proposing $73,000 of construction per unit, utilizing federal LIHTC and federal historic tax credits. Typically during our rehab process, it's a 12-month period start to finish. So once we have permits, everything's in line. Once construction starts, it's done in 12 months. Should I talk about Washington, or do you want me to just kind of go past this as far as an overview?
I think you should go ahead as your plan. Let the directors know that, that there are 2 separate resolutions.
Yeah, Washington Apartments on 600 North Kings Highway is our second. It is a 99 unit family apartment complex. 100% Section 8. This was built in 1902. I believe originally it was a hotel. 7-story building with elevators. It is also currently on the historic register. For this property, we're proposing $90,000 construction per unit. And in a similar sense, we are pursuing federal 4% LIHTC and federal historic tax credits. Likewise, 12-month start to finish of construction. As far as the scope of work, as I mentioned earlier, the scope for both of these properties are very similar, being they're historic buildings, and that the conversion and or previous renovation is probably 15 to 17 years old. Overall, for the building exteriors, installation of new TPO roofing, clean and tuck point, the exterior brick and stucco, new LED site lighting and new wayfinding signage at the exterior of the building, new entryways with key fob entrance systems for the tenants, and then a call box for visitors. Systems wise, both are in dire need of an elevator modernization. The mechanical, plumbing, and electrical systems are all tired, so they'll need upgrades to higher efficiencies. And then for life safety, fire sprinkler upgrades. All new LED light fixtures throughout the exterior. Regarding site work, a new grind and overlay of the surface parking lots, including new striping. We propose new gates, vehicle gates and pedestrian access gates, refreshed landscaping, some site amenities, barbecue areas and or fire pits, community garden planter boxes and the like, full exterior security cameras. In the common areas, we're proposing a TV area with seating, what we call a gaming area with billiards tables, card tables, games, things like that. ADA compliant common area restrooms, elevator upgrades to both properties. A remodeled or added community kitchen at both properties. A gym with new workout equipment, a computer workstation area, renovation of the existing mail rooms for full ADA compliance, and new signage and LED light fixtures throughout the common areas. The one major difference between the two is we're proposing a new playground at Washington Apartments, since it's a family complex. We have an interior designer come in where we do artwork on each floor to help with wayfinding, especially in the senior complexes. New paint, new flooring, typically a combination of vinyl luxury plank and carpet for hallways and common area rooms. Common area security cameras. We also plan to rehab the management office and provide manager apartment upgrades. Unit interiors, this is typical across the board for us. We provide energy efficient appliances, new window coverings, new door hardware, new paint, carpet, and luxury vinyl plank. LED light fixtures, energy efficient low flow toilets, shower heads and faucets. New countertops and kitchen or in cabinets for the kitchens and baths. New HVAC in the units where required. If it's a system-wide HVAC system, then we'll typically replace the blower and the thermostat controls for the tenant. And we also include in-unit Wi-Fi, which is free to the residents, which would cover the units and the common areas of the buildings. Then I wanted to show you a couple examples of projects in Missouri. This is Cathedral Square Towers, which I mentioned earlier. This is kind of a before and after of the exterior. We tuck pointed the building, all new windows, all new clear story glass at the hallways. And though it's in shadow in the first floor, we did all new storefront for common areas. This is just an image of the existing and the renovated porte cochere at the main entry on 12th Street. This is an image of the existing common area on the first floor, and to the right is our rehabbed common area. As I mentioned earlier, we really focus on quality for the tenants. This speaks to the community kitchen that I talked about, the common areas for both buildings. To the left, the existing, to the right is our post-renovated community kitchen. This is another building in Kansas City, Missouri, Columbus Park Plaza. This is just an exterior shot. Cleaned the brick, tuck pointed the building, all new insulated windows, and we replaced the VTAC grills to kind of tie everything together. And this is also at Columbus Park Plaza. To the left is an existing common area. To the right is a common area where we provided built-in library shelving and computer workstations. So that's really a brief overview of the scope for each. We have had a very good track record with Roseman Associates, along with Altman Charter. I know, Michelle, you mentioned this is our 7th project with Roseman. With Altman, this will be our 5th. So we think we have a pretty good team put together, and we expect to do a phenomenal job.
Okay. Any questions from the director?
I have a few questions.
Go ahead.
Thank you. When were the applications for these received? Because first information again, and this has been a continuing gripe that I've had, is I get information about these, just these blurbs, which I do appreciate, a couple of weeks or a couple of days before the hearing. So when were these applications received for these two bond requests?
Well, I was informed that all the directors were told about this preliminary review sometime in the middle of last week. So is
Right,
that-
yeah, a few days ago, yeah. What were the applications received?
You know that.
The final applications were submitted by SDG on Tuesday of last week.
Okay. And then when was it decided to move it forward to us?
Well, Michelle, what's the process on how it gets from vetted by the legals to preliminary?
Well, as far as legal, you would need to ask legal, but everything had been submitted. The underwriting had been done by Citibank. I mean, they submitted all of the financing paperwork. At that time, legal had made the review, bond counsel had reviewed and deemed it to move forward, had done the resolutions that are attached. And so at that time, we present them to the directors for their final decision. I mean,
Okay, so that was all just done within the last 7, 10 days?
no, it was
okay,
done
so-
between Tuesday and Friday.
Tuesday and Friday. So the first that IDA had any information that this was coming up was last week.
Tuesday. And then we sent everything out to you guys on Friday.
Okay, so before Tuesday, IDA had no idea about these projects at all then? Is that what I'm hearing?
We had an idea they were going to be coming, but IDA did not have any details about the projects until the applications arrived. So we knew the projects, we knew there were projects that were anticipated, but we didn't have any information to provide to the board until the applications came in on Tuesday.
Okay, in the future, I'd like copies of these applications along with our blurbs. So there'll be hearings set up for these projects as well, is that correct?
Yes, there's going to be a TEPRA hearing for their tax exemption status, and there will be a issuance resolution at a future board meeting to authorize the issuance of the bonds.
Right, they come back to you for a second final approval.
I understand that. At the last meeting, some of the directors had indicated an interest in making sure we know about these separate hearings so we can attend them. And I just want to make sure that none of those hearings have occurred and we've missed it, because I would like to be involved in those. One of the questions I have, and maybe this will come up at the hearing, is with this money and all the great things that are being discussed that are going to be in, is there money set aside for the upkeep of these throughout? Because making something nice and pretty right away is good, but if there's nothing there to keep the standards at a high level, it doesn't really help the overall project. Can you speak to that?
Yeah, we maintain a certain amount of operating reserves based upon the extent of the renovation. So it's all based upon life cycle costing. So that is all built into our agreement.
Do you have a rough estimate of that now, or is it premature for these two projects of what that life cycle operations are, that there's money set aside for upkeep these renovations for? Even ballpark, we usually do. If there's a rule of thumb, that's fine. I'm just looking to get some kind of a background.
Justin, you may speak to this, you might have it in front of you. I don't, in a general sense, we have a capital needs assessment done of every project that we do. And after that, we put together the scope of work. So typically, let's use we're proposing new roofs for both projects. Those will have a 20-year, no dollar limit warranty associated with them. So any repairs to that roof over the time is covered. We pay for that on the front end. HVAC equipment, you typically get a 15 to 20-year life cycle. So, you know, other than yearly maintenance or quarterly maintenance, which we set up with the management company, they have a lot of policies in place regarding this. We don't anticipate any major failures. You know, the idea is our scope of work, we're taking care of everything that's tired and that's hit the end of its life expectancy, and we're going in new. So other than routine maintenance, we don't expect many issues based upon the capital needs assessment done on the front end.
Okay, so then you said there's a separate contract with the operations person to make sure that routine repairs are being made, things are being cleaned, the playground is maintained in a safe and presentable. And is that part of this bond, or is this outside of that?
This is typically a maintenance schedule, and groundskeeping is through the management company, Dalmark, who we have several other properties with. So they have systems in place with maintenance, you know, like spring startup for the chillers, you know, fall shutdowns for the chillers, things like that, you know, that routinely they will, you know, check on condensate lines so we don't get have any water issues from those backing up, things like that.
To follow up on what Jim was asking, sorry, Jim, if I jumped in here.
No,
but
go right ahead, sir.
Could you like give an example, like the Kansas City property that you showed us? I mean, do you, you know, from a capital reserves, you know, perspective, like you mentioned, I mean, what, just to give an example, right? I mean, you've had that property, you know, I'm assuming at least for 12 months now. You know, what do the capital reserves look like for that for operations and covering any, you know, unforeseen expenses that maybe the management company is not doesn't take care of?
Justin, could you pull that up to give them an idea?
I am pulling that up right now.
I'm particularly curious about the Washington one because it's in my neighborhood, so definitely want to keep that nice and pretty. It's not too far from me.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not seeing the monthly management reports on my end of our server, but we can get back to you with a final number on that after the call. I can have that for you by today if you would like.
I guess kind of a rule of thumb is about $5,000 per unit.
Well, if I could jump in with a couple of questions. What is the occupancy currently on both of these? The occupancy rate?
I believe the information we have is that they're both almost fully occupied.
Yeah, I believe we're at 95% or above on both properties.
I'm sorry if that question was directed towards me. My Wi-Fi is cutting in and out here in the office, so I'm only hearing every second or third word. If it was regarding occupancy on both sites, we are at 93% at Allen Market Lane and 95% at Washington right now. These are not owned by SDG Housing Partners at this time. The seller of the properties is McCormick Barron, and they are managing the sites at this moment.
And but it begs the question about your plan to relocate in place the people who these apartments will be redone.
That is. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. Yeah, typically we, especially on senior properties, we try to relocate in place. So inevitably a vacancy will come up, and if it's leading up to the start of construction, we will have management hold that unit empty, and we try to relocate within the building. When we do full ADA conversions to units to bring them up to today's standards, depending on the scope of work, we can relocate within the building, or we may offer to relocate the tenant to a hotel while we do that. And that really mainly depends on if we get into any structural walls that need to move or anything like that to make the unit wheelchair accessible.
And to piggyback on that, we do have a 20-page relocation plan for each site that gives an example hotel as a backup in case there are not enough vacant units on site at the time. And we do have a contingency built into our budget to account for the additional cost of that hotel relocation as well. So in the case of the properties are more leased up at the time of the renovation, we will be working with a very local hotel. SDG will be handling all moving and relocation costs. There will be an inspection by MHDC before the tenant is relocated into the hotel to ensure that it meets the quality standards of their current living unit. And we will make it as smooth a process as possible. That full plan was submitted with both of the IDA applications that we sent in this previous Tuesday.
Very good. Any further questions of the board?
Yeah, I just have a couple more. Regarding the general contractor who's been chosen, Altman Charter, I understand he's done a number of jobs with them. Do you know where they are, if they've even begun to put together a sub list of who I know they don't self-perform generally, but a sub list. And the reason I ask is because there's a lot of, this is a lot of, I find it to be a lot of money that's being, spent, and I find it to be a lot of money and a lot of work. And, I think we should have a commitment to responsible contractors that are dedicated to apprentices, family supporting jobs and benefits and careers. I know that Altman Charter has, in some of the subs they use, have a stellar record in that, and some of the subs that they've used in and around the area have a less than stellar record in that. And with these two projects in particular, with such a lot of masonry that goes to not only the structural aspects of it, but the masonry that goes to the character of these buildings and in these neighborhoods. I'd like to know that, the standards for the construction and the support are being met and upheld. Just a quick, and this happens, but I mean, with generals and everybody, I know that there's been a citation against Altman Charter within the last 12 months. Not overly significant, but exists. And again, not to throw water, like I said, I know they have a generally very good record, and you can do a lot of projects and things happen. It's the nature of construction. But I ask because of the nature of these projects in particular, and the amount of masonry that is going to be worked with.
Yeah. So I guess my first response is, when I mentioned the cost per unit, these are somewhat elevated costs because of the historic nature of the building and the additional requirements, regarding masonry mix, how you clean the brick or how you clean the limestone, how you stop that reaction after it's clean. In a previous life, I had an architecture firm, and the majority of my work were historic preservation projects around downtown Kansas City and the Crossroads District. Our historic preservationists that we're working with on these is Rosen and Associates. They're based out of Kansas City, but they also do a lot of work in St. Louis and nationally. There are checks and balances put in place regarding historic rehabs. So everything we propose scope wise is reviewed by the historic preservationist, by the feds, and by the state. Any materials and methods utilized in the historic preservation also have to be approved. There are very specific specification sections and scope of work that have to be reviewed both on the state and national level before they're approved. So I'm confident, these will both be high quality historic rehabs.
Okay, and just make sure it wasn't lost. I appreciate all those standards, but I don't think I'm speaking too out of line by saying all those standards from an architectural or design or historic preservation don't do a whole lot of good if the men and women actually installing and doing the work don't know what they're doing as well. So I want to focus on that aspect.
Yep.
I don't want the men and women doing the work to be lost in this mix.
Understood. How do I put it? I'm in Kansas City. I'll be the one going to St. Louis. We will have a sub list. Granted, you know, it's so early in the process that it hasn't been produced yet.
Okay.
But I'll verify. We don't want someone coming in and doing the wrong mortar and then the bricks falling the next winter. So, yeah, I will take personal responsibility for that. How about that?
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Well, that tip of the trowel to you then. But they said it on camera. But anyway, I too live near one of these, particularly the hat factory. We call it the hat factory. So,
Yeah.
But a friend of mine, not so long ago, besides there, showed me how extensive some of the ceiling damage is in some of the common areas. So that roof must really be in a bad shape.
I walked it with MHDC a couple weeks ago. It looked as though whatever the issues were had been repaired. We noticed very little water damage, but like I mentioned, the existing roof is at the end of its life cycle. So all that will be addressed: roofing, flashing, tuck pointing. New windows.
And are you aware if the you're going to keep Dora and the other people in the office that those residents have become familiar with, or are they staying with the building?
As far as resident services or on the management side?
With the management office that's on site at Allen Market
Yeah,
Lane.
across the street.
Well, it's a lane. It's not a
Yeah,
street.
across the alley. I believe we are talking to Dalmark Management about taking over that property.
So they'll bring in their own rental agency and all that.
It depends. We get into situations where even if we bring in a new management company, if we have a manager who has a good relationship with the tenants, the management company will propose, hey, would you like to come work with us? We've seen that happen on several of our projects.
Because we've had good managers over there.
Yeah.
Dreama Toller, for instance, he would
Yeah.
line up bus trips to go to the grocery or to the show, or
Mhm.
just to give the clients stuff to do.
Yeah, and we fully intend to maintain resident services which provide services like that to the tenants.
And finally, there's always been a waiting list, Allen Market. I'm sure there is at the Washington as well. So anybody that's in the application process now is even going to be delayed even more, I presume. I don't know that there's much you could do about that.
It's scale wise, I think it's going to be very small. You know, like I said, if we're a few months pre-construction regarding relocation, we may hold a couple of units while we renovate the units. You're absolutely right. I mean, almost all affordable housing has a waiting period right now. But I think ours would be minimum. It's more if existing residents decide to move out, then the queue starts to move.
I see. Any other question from the board? Well, hearing none, would there be a motion on 24 IDA 01, which is the Allen Market Lane?
Mr. President, Director Young, I move that we approve the preliminary approval for 24 IDA 01.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Director Seward. Roll call, please. Shoot.
Director Young,
Aye.
Director Stewart,
Aye.
Director Fall,
Yeah, I'd like to be notified when these separate hearings are, but preliminarily, yes.
Chair Reed,
Motion passes. Now, let's move on to, would there be a motion for 24 IDA 2?
It's Director Seward. I'll move.
It's been moved.
You can have it, Mr. Stewart. I'll second.
Very good. Moved and seconded. Roll call, please.
Director Stewart,
Aye.
Director Fall,
Yes, I'd like to, again, like to be reminded and notified of the TEPRA, but yes, preliminarily.
Chair Reed.
Aye.
Director Young,
Aye.
Motion passes. It's always good to get your name in the minutes, you know. I've been doing that for a long time. Motion carries. Congratulations, gentlemen, and good luck on the project.
Thank you all. Really appreciate your time today.
Thank you.
Item next. Resolution 24 IDA 3. Now, who's presenting this?
That's gonna be me.
Okay, this is the fill a couple vacancies.
Yes, all right. Can everyone on the screen hear me okay? All right, perfect. So the IDA under its bylaws has a secretary position that was previously occupied by Director Pinella, who resigned from the board in February to take a position with the city. So the secretary position has been sitting vacant since a couple of months ago. That's not ordinarily a problem because the corporation has a number of assistant secretaries that actually carry out the day-to-day secretarial duties like calling the roll, taking minutes, preparing bond documents, things of that nature. But as a corporation, the IDA needs to register to do business with the Secretary of State's office. And we have been encountering difficulty renewing the IDA's registration without a designated secretary. So this resolution elects Rob Orr, who's on the screen, and is St. Louis Development Corporation's Vice President of Real Estate Development, to fill in for the remainder of Director Pinella's role as secretary. The other half of this resolution, you might have heard a new voice calling the roll today. For those of you who've not yet met her, I'd like to introduce Shella Bradley. She is the law department's new legal assistant, been with us for a little while now, and has been learning the ropes of the IDA. So we would recommend she be appointed as another assistant secretary to help out Laura, who's also here with us, and as another person that can seal and counter execute documents on behalf of the authority. So I am happy to take any questions if anyone has any.
Now, this is on in effect till regular election.
Yes,
We'll
the
have a new
correct.
election office.
Correct. The secretary position will be until the next election in May. And then the assistant secretary position will be in perpetuity until revoked.
Very good. Any questions from the board?
I have just a comment. I'm sure both candidates are are absolutely wonderful civil servants and dedicated to their position. But I personally have never met either of you. I understand the kind of time sensitive nature, at least for the position Mr. Orr is being recommended to, and I appreciate that. I don't mean this to be contrary to either of their qualifications, of which I truly am just ignorant. But in the future, I think I would appreciate at least the courtesy of directors being told, this is the person, would you like, give an opportunity to talk to them, just say what's going on. For nothing else, to give the appearance of the tail not wagging the dog here. At the end of the day, us directors that have to make these decisions and our names on it. And I would appreciate the courtesy of having an opportunity to speak with someone before just, hey, here's who we were recommending, time's short, we need you to vote on it. That rubs me a little bit the wrong way. I'll be voting in favor of you, Mr. Orr. But in the future, that does rub me a little the wrong way. And I think the optics are not ideal on it. So I have very few times to say things, so I'm going to take it now. Thank you.
Mr. Orr, would you prefer to give an introduction of yourself?
Happy to. Don't believe everything you read in the papers. Let me start with that. Yeah, my name is Rob Orr. I've been at St. Louis Development Corporation for 13 years or 16 years, 3 months and 7 days. Started out as a major project manager. I'm currently a senior vice president for real estate development. I oversee the incentives department, the major projects department, which is kind of morphing into a land assemblage strategy and to also acquire properties for industrial development and do some preliminary pre-development site work to make those properties more marketable. And then the Port Authority also follows under my jurisdiction. So I've worked on a lot of projects throughout the years. My initial focus was in the North Riverfront, and I have a number of projects there, but lately it's been throughout the city, but a large focus is still basically in the riverfront, downtown, and areas where large scale development projects are happening. So I'm happy to answer any questions. I guess I will add, this may be my first IDA meeting too. I think maybe I went to one early on, but I haven't had the pleasure of needing to present before this board, and I've got plenty of other board meetings to attend. So look forward to hearing more and learning more about what this agency does.
You and me both. This is a meteoric rise that you have, Ben.
We were well taken care of in the old days when Pat Bannister was around. He helped us through all the years in serious debt, to the SLDC.
He was a great mentor for me and others I know.
And you too, Michelle. Sheila, would you like to say something?
Certainly. Hi, directors and other panelists. My name is Sheila. In July, I've been living in Portland, Oregon for 23 years. Prior to being with the city since November, I was the deputy city clerk in the city of Webster Grove when I moved back here. And prior to that, I worked with the city of Portland as a hearings clerk for 7 years, working with different resolutions and also helping with doing tow hearings and working with different internal attorneys. So I'm very happy to be here. The items that we're doing are not unfamiliar to me, but I do appreciate that I'm learning something new, how this municipality does their resolutions that are board meetings. So I'm happy to be of assistance to anyone that needs it. You can always call me and help with our meeting.
And I'm sure you'll all be hearing from Sheila about meeting notices, all these things. You've done a good job for us too. Yeah. So, any more questions of our new helpers? Hearing none, would there be a motion about resolution 24 IDA 3?
I move that we approve 23 IDA 03, Director Young.
Would there be a second?
I'll second it.
Second, Director Seward. Roll call, please.
Director Hall,
Yes, thank you. Both.
Director Young,
Aye.
Director Stewart,
Aye.
Chair Reed.
Aye. Motion carries. Congratulations to the two of you. Welcome. Is Chris still here? Oh, is there anything?
Yes, I am. I just want to get my name in the minutes.
Well, you're good. It'll be
There
on
was
the
no activity this month. No, nothing closed. We did make a little bit of interest. I did want to make one comment, and that is, if nothing else closes this year, this fiscal year, and we just continue on and earn a little interest, we're going to end in the black on our retained earnings, or however you want to look at it, which is very unique, something that we have not had in quite a while. There were some times where the IDA, the activity was down. We continued to pay the St. Louis Development Corporation the administrative fee that we pay them. And that is, as you know, that is fluctuated based on our ability to pay. But we ran in the red for quite a while. This year we will end, I'm confident we will end the fiscal year in the black, and that's good news. That's all I really wanted to say.
How about that? It's been a while, hasn't it?
Yes, it has.
Okay. Was there anything more for the good of the order? Hearing none, would there be a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
So, second?
A second.
All right, we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.